Kira's antenna twitched as she adjusted the microscope settings. The laboratory on Harmony Point Station was quiet this morning, just the way she liked it. Her 6 legs moved in careful coordination as she transferred the sample to the analysis chamber. Being a Valesian meant patience came naturally to her. Her people had spent thousands of years perfecting scientific methods, studying the universe, one careful observation at a time. The door hissed open behind her. "Morning, Kira. Brought you some coffee." She turned to see Jinwoo Park, the human maintenance engineer, holding 2 steaming cups. His face wore that expression humans called a smile. Kira still found it unsettling sometimes. Those teeth showing, those forward-facing eyes locked directly on her. Every instinct in her Valesian brain said predator. But Jinwoo had never been anything but kind to her. "Thank you, Jinwoo. But you know I cannot drink coffee. My biology does not process it well." The human laughed, a sound like rolling stones. I know. One is tea for you." I remembered this time. Tea. He set the cups down on her workstation, careful not to disturb her equipment. Kira noticed how he always moved with such control despite his size. Humans were not the largest species in the galaxy, but they were dense, packed with muscle and bone that seemed excessive for a civilized species. "What are you working on today?" Jinwoo asked, peering at her screens. "I am studying the protein structures of different species, trying to understand how we all evolved such different solutions to the same problems." She gestured at the display with one of her delicate manipulator arms. "Your human proteins are fascinating. So redundant. So much backup systems." "Yeah, we're pretty redundant," Jinwoo agreed cheerfully. "My dad used to say humans are built like old Earth trucks. Not fancy, but hard to break completely." Kira tilted her head. That was another thing about humans. They made jokes about everything, even themselves. The Valesians took themselves very seriously. Science was sacred. But Jinwoo could laugh about protein structures. "I need to check the atmospheric processors on this level," Jinwoo said, pulling out his diagnostic tool. "Mind if I work while you work?" "Not at all. Your presence is welcome." It was true. Over the past 3 months since Jinwoo had been assigned to this section of the station, Kira had grown comfortable with him. He was good company. He never interrupted her work, always asked before touching anything, and somehow knew when she needed help reaching equipment on the higher shelves. Her species averaged 4 feet tall. Jinwoo was nearly 6 feet. The difference had been awkward at first, but now it just seemed practical. The morning passed peacefully. Kira analyzed her samples while Jinwoo performed his maintenance checks. Occasionally he would hum, making sounds that Kira had learned were human music. It did not disturb her concentration. In fact, she found it oddly soothing. "Hey, Kira," Jinwoo said around midday. "Want to grab lunch? The cafeteria has those crystal fungi you liked today." Kira saved her work and followed him out of the lab. Harmony Point Station was home to 17 different species, all living and working together. It was a grand experiment in galactic cooperation, and mostly it worked well. The corridors were adjusted for multiple body types, with different ceiling heights and floor textures to accommodate everyone from the massive Quilix to the tiny pips. In the cafeteria, Kira selected her fungi while Jinwoo loaded his tray with something he called a sandwich. They sat at one of the cross-species tables, designed to accommodate different seating requirements. "This is very peaceful," Kira observed, looking around at the diverse crowd. "I am glad the galaxy has learned to coexist." "Yeah, it's pretty great," Jinwoo agreed, biting into his sandwich. "Better than the alternative." "What alternative?" "War. Conflict. The usual stuff species do when they first meet." He said it so casually, as if discussing the weather. Kira's antenna flattened slightly. "That seems like a terrible option. Why would species choose violence?" Jinwoo shrugged. Another human gesture Kira was still learning to interpret. Fear, mostly. Resources. Territory. Humans did it to ourselves for thousands of years before we got it together. We're still not perfect at it. The casual way he discussed such horror bothered Kira, but she did not press further. Humans had a strange relationship with violence. They studied it, made entertainment about it, but also worked hard to prevent it. She did not fully understand. They finished their meal and returned to the lab. Jinwoo completed his maintenance checklist, while Kira continued her research. The afternoon was as quiet as the morning had been. Then the alarms started. The sound was deafening, a piercing wail that made Kira's entire body seize up in panic. Red lights flashed throughout the laboratory. Jinwoo was at the computer terminal in seconds, his casual demeanor gone, replaced by focused intensity. What is happening? Kira's voice came out as a high-pitched click, her species' fear response. Solar flare, Jinwoo said, his fingers flying across the controls. Big one. The station's magnetic shielding is failing. Over the intercom, the station commander's voice echoed. All personnel. This is not a drill. Massive solar event approaching. Radiation levels critical. Proceed to evacuation pods immediately. Repeat. Proceed to evacuation pods immediately. Kira felt her legs lock up. She had read about solar flares. The radiation would kill them. It would burn through their cells, destroy their DNA, cook them from the inside. Her scientific mind supplied all the horrible details while her body refused to move. Jinwoo grabbed his emergency kit from the wall locker. The corridor outside was chaos. Kira had never seen so many species panicking at once. The Velesians were clicking frantically, their antennae flat against their heads. The Quilix had frozen in place, their defense mechanism, which would doom them now. The small pips were running in confused circles, their high-pitched voices adding to the noise. Stay close to me, Jinwoo said, his hand gentle but firm on her shoulder carapace. They moved through the crowd. Jinwoo did not push, but somehow, people moved aside for him. Maybe it was his size. Maybe it was something else about humans that made other species instinctively give them space. They reached the evacuation bay. Kira's hope died when she saw the display board. There are not enough pods, she whispered. Jinwoo studied the board. His jaw tightened, but his hands did not shake. No, there aren't. Already, fights were breaking out. Species pushing and shoving, all civilized behavior forgotten in the face of death. The station shuddered as the first wave of radiation hit the shields. The lights flickered. Kira looked at Jinwoo, expecting to see fear, panic, the same terror she felt crawling through every part of her body. Instead, she saw calculation. His eyes moved across the bay, assessing, thinking, planning. Jinwoo, she said, we are going to die. He looked at her then, really looked at her, and something in his expression made her blood run cold. Maybe, he said quietly, but not yet. The evacuation bay descended further into chaos. A Quilix had unfrozen and was trying to force his way into an already full pod. Two Velesians were fighting over a seat, their delicate limbs tangling together. Kira heard something crack and one of them fell, injured. No one stopped to help. This was not how civilized species were supposed to behave. This was not the peaceful galaxy she knew. Fear had stripped away everything that made them better than animals. Jinwoo's hand was still on her shoulder, steady and warm through her carapace. Come with me, he said. Where? The pods are full. We cannot. Trust me. Kira did not know why she followed him. Maybe because his voice was so calm when everyone else was screaming. Maybe because she had no other options. He led her away from the evacuation bay, against the flow of panicking people, back into the corridors of the station. Should we not try to get a pod? Kira asked, struggling to keep up with his longer stride. By the time we fight our way in, the radiation will cook us. We need another option. He was moving with purpose, checking his handheld device as he walked. The main power distribution center is 3 levels down. If I can manually reroute power to the emergency shields in this section, We might be able to survive long enough for rescue. Might? Better than definitely dying at the evacuation bay. He said it so matter-of-fact, like he was discussing which route to take to the cafeteria, not which choice might let them live a few more minutes. They reached a maintenance shaft. Jin-Woo pulled open the access panel and looked down into the dark tunnel. Yes. But he was already descending, moving down the ladder with quick efficiency. Kira followed, her 6 legs actually giving her an advantage here. The shaft was dark and cramped, designed for maintenance, not regular use. She could hear the station groaning around them, metal stressed by forces it was never meant to withstand. They emerged on a lower level. The lights here were dimmer, flickering. Emergency. Power. Only. Jin-Woo led them through corridors that Kira had never seen before, the guts of the station where only maintenance workers went. The power distribution center was a massive room filled with humming machinery and conduit pipes. Display screens showed critical systems failing one by one. The temperature was already rising. Kira could feel it through her carapace. Jin-Woo went straight to the main control panel and started working. His fingers moved fast, entering commands, overriding safety protocols. Kira watched the screens. The numbers were bad. Very bad. The radiation levels are increasing, she said, her voice shaking. Jin-Woo, even if you reroute the power, we are in the lower levels. The shielding here is minimal. We will still receive a lethal dose. Working on it, he muttered, not looking up from the panel. Jin-Woo. Kira's voice rose to a panicked click. We need to leave. We need to find another way. There is no other way. His voice was still calm, focused. This is the only chance. Kira felt something break inside her. The fear she had been holding back came flooding out. Her legs trembled. Her antenna pressed flat. She could not breathe properly. This was how she was going to die. In a maintenance room, watching a human try to fix the unfixable. Why aren't you scared, human? The question came out as a desperate chirp. She needed to understand. How could he be so calm? They were going to die. The radiation was coming. There was no escape. Why wasn't he screaming like everyone else? Why wasn't he running? Why wasn't he giving up? Jin-Woo stopped typing. He turned to look at her, and Kira saw something in his eyes that made her go completely still. Not fear, not panic, something else. Something that her Veletian brain could not quite process. Because I've been scared before, he said quietly. Real scared. This? He gestured around the failing station. This is just Tuesday. Kira stared at him. I do not understand. Jin-Woo returned his attention to the controls, but he kept talking. Humans have a different relationship with fear than most species. We don't fear death the same way you do. We fear helplessness. We fear having no options. We fear watching bad things happen and not being able to do anything about it. His fingers continued their work, rerouting power conduits. But as long as I can act, as long as there's something I can try, then I'm okay. I can keep my head. The panic comes later, when there's nothing left to do. That is insane, Kira whispered. Yeah, probably. He almost smiled. But it's kept humans alive for a long time. The main screen flickered and changed. Jin-Woo had successfully rerouted power. Emergency shields were strengthening around their section. It was not much, but it was something. Will it be enough? Kira asked. I don't know, Jin-Woo said honestly. But it's better than it was a minute ago. The station shuddered violently. Kira fell, her legs unable to keep purchase on the shaking floor. Jin-Woo caught her, held her steady until the tremor passed. Through the walls, she could hear groaning metal, systems failing, pieces of the station tearing apart. The main solar wave just hit, Jin-Woo said, checking his device. We're in it now. Kira expected to feel pain, to feel her cells burning. But the emergency shields were holding. Barely. The temperature was rising fast, though. The room was getting hot. The thermal regulation is failing, Jinwoo observed. Shields are using too much power. We're going to cook before the radiation gets us. Can you fix it? No. Not enough power to run both systems. He looked at the displays, calculating. We have maybe 15 minutes before the temperature reaches lethal levels. 20 if we're lucky. 15 minutes. Kira's scientific mind knew exactly what that meant. At current rate of increase, the ambient temperature would reach 160 degrees. Her body would shut down. Her proteins would denature. She would die. She waited for Jinwoo to panic now. Surely this was the helplessness he feared. There was nothing more he could do. The engineering was done. Now, there was only waiting for death. But he just sat down on the floor next to her, his back against the wall. He pulled out a water bottle from his emergency kit and took a drink. Want some? He offered. How can you drink at a time like this? We've got 15 minutes. Might as well stay hydrated. Kira made a sound between a laugh and a sob. This human was impossible. Completely impossible. The room got hotter. Kira could feel her body struggling. Her species had evolved on a cool, wet world. Heat was dangerous to her. Already she was feeling sluggish, her thoughts starting to slow. Jinwoo, though, just looked uncomfortable. Sweating. Yes. His face was red, but not dying. Not yet. Your species is more heat-tolerant, Kira observed. Yeah. Earth was a hot place. Humans evolved to deal with temperature extremes. We can sweat, which helps. He wiped his forehead. Though I admit, this is pushing it. Tell me about Earth, Kira said suddenly. She did not want to die in silence. Tell me about your homeworld. Jinwoo looked at her for a moment, then nodded. Okay. Let me tell you about Earth. And as the temperature rose and death drew closer, Jinwoo Park began to talk. Earth is a death world, Jinwoo said, taking another sip of water. Most species don't realize it, but by galactic standards, my planet is horrifying. Kira's antenna twitched weakly. The heat was making it hard to think, but Jinwoo's voice gave her something to focus on besides the rising temperature. How so? I have read that Earth is a garden world, full of life. It is, Jinwoo agreed. That's part of what makes it so dangerous. Everything on Earth is trying to kill everything else. It's not personal. It's just how evolution worked out. He shifted his position, trying to find a cooler spot on the floor. Humans evolved as prey animals first. Did you know that? We weren't always predators. For millions of years, we were food. Big cats hunted us. Bears hunted us. Even some birds hunted us when we were small enough. But you survived, Kira said. We did. You know how? Jinwoo's eyes had a distant look, like he was seeing something beyond the hot metal walls. We learned to run. Not fast sprints, like prey animals usually do. Long-distance running. We would chase prey animals for hours. Days, sometimes. Just keep following them until they collapsed from exhaustion. Then we would walk up and kill them while they were too tired to fight. Kira felt a chill despite the heat. That is horrifying. Yeah, Jinwoo said softly. It is. Humans are persistence predators. We don't give up. We just keep coming. That's what we're best at. Not speed. Not strength. Not even intelligence, really. Just the ability to keep going when everything else stops. The temperature display ticked higher. They had maybe 10 minutes left. Kira's body was shutting down. Her legs would not move properly anymore. Her thoughts were getting fuzzy. Tell me more, she managed to say. Jinwoo continued, his voice steady despite the sweat pouring down his face. Earth tried to kill us over and over. Ice ages that should have wiped us out. We survived by learning to control fire, to make clothes, to build shelters, diseases that killed millions. We survived by developing medicine, by quarantining the sick, By studying what killed us until we could fight back. Every time something tried to end us, we adapted. We learned. We survived. He laughed, but there was something dark in it. You know what we did with wolves? Those apex predators that hunted our ancestors? We looked at them and said, I want that. We domesticated them, turned them into dogs, made them love us. Kira would have thought he was joking, but she could see in his face that he was not. That is madness. That's humanity. Jinwoo corrected. We don't just survive threats. We make them work for us. We turn our enemies into tools. It's what we do. The station groaned again. Something exploded in the distance, muffled by the walls. Kira flinched. Jinwoo just glanced at the ceiling and kept talking. The galaxy thinks humans are friendly, peaceful, easy to get along with. His voice was quiet now, almost contemplative. And we are. We really are. We like making friends. We like cooperation and trade and building things together. But, Kira prompted, but that friendliness isn't because we don't know violence. It's because we know it too well. We spent thousands of years fighting ourselves. Wars that killed millions. Weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. We built bombs that could end all life on Earth. And we came so close to using them. He looked at Kira directly. We chose peace, not because we're weak, but because we know exactly what the alternative costs. We're friendly because we decided to be, not because we don't have other options. Kira felt something shift in her understanding. She had thought humans were kind because they were naturally gentle. But Jinwoo was describing something else. A choice, a conscious decision to be better than their nature. Humans have a saying, Jinwoo continued. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's not always true. Sometimes, what doesn't kill you just traumatizes you, breaks you, leaves you worse than before. But as a species? He wiped the sweat from his eyes. As a species, we took every trauma, every disaster, every apocalypse, and we used it to become harder to kill next time. We're not strong because we're naturally tough. We're strong because we've survived every extinction event our planet threw at us. The temperature was critical now. Kira could barely think. Her vision was fading. She was dying. She knew it with scientific certainty. Her body temperature was too high. Her cells were failing. I am scared now, she whispered. I do not want to die. I know, Jinwoo said gently. He reached over and put his hand on her carapace, as he had done so many times in the lab. A gesture of comfort. I'm scared too. You are? Yeah. Because there's nothing left I can do. I fixed what I could fix. Now we're just waiting. This is the part I'm bad at. The helpless part. Kira understood now. Jinwoo's calm had not been because he did not feel fear. It was because he had been too busy fighting to acknowledge it. Now that the fighting was done, she could see the fear in his eyes. The very human fear of dying alone in a hot metal room. I am glad you are here, Kira said. I would not want to die alone. Me either, Jinwoo admitted. They sat in silence for a moment. Kira felt consciousness starting to slip away. This was it. The end. Then Jinwoo's head snapped up. Wait. What? He was looking at her equipment. The delicate tools she had brought from the lab, still in her carry case. His mind was working again. She could see it in his eyes. Your lab equipment. The thermal regulator for your samples. How much power does it draw? Through. Very little. Why? Jinwoo was already moving, pulling the equipment out. Because if we can chain your regulators together, use them to create a cooling field around just us, instead of the whole room, we might be able to lower the temperature enough to survive. Hope flared in Kira's chest. Will it work? I don't know, Jinwoo said, his hands already working, connecting cables, rerouting power. But it's something to try. And trying is what humans do best. He was right. Even at the edge of death, facing impossible odds, Jinwoo Park was still trying to find a solution. Not accepting defeat. Not giving up. Just keeping going. Kira watched him work, and for the first time, she truly understood what made humans different. It was not that they were fearless. It was not that they were stronger, or smarter, or better than other species. It was that they refused to stop trying. Even when logic said there was no hope. Even when the math said they would fail. Humans looked at impossible situations and said, "Not yet." They were a species that had been forged in apocalypse after apocalypse, and instead of breaking, they had learned to treat extinction events as problems to be solved. And right now, watching Jinwoo work with shaking hands and determined eyes, Kira realized that was the most terrifying and wonderful thing she had ever witnessed. Jinwoo's makeshift cooling system was working. Barely. The air immediately around them was cooler, maybe 20 degrees lower than the rest of the room. It was not comfortable, but it was survivable. Kira felt her thoughts clearing slightly, her body pulling back from the edge of shutdown. "How long will this last?" she asked. Jinwoo checked his device. "Your equipment has its own power cells. Maybe an hour if we're lucky. The solar event should pass before then. If the station's main systems come back online, we might make it. Another might. Another maybe." But it was more than they had 5 minutes ago. Kira watched Jinwoo as he monitored the systems. He was exhausted. She could see it in the way he moved, the heaviness in his eyes. But he was not stopping. Still checking readings, still making micro-adjustments to keep the cooling field stable. "Jinwoo," she said quietly, "why did you not leave me and try to reach the evacuation pods yourself? You are faster than I am. You might have made it." He looked at her with surprise. "Leave you? Why would I do that? To survive. Self-preservation is the most basic instinct." Jinwoo was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. "You know what I learned in engineering school? Systems work better when all components support each other. If one part tries to save itself by sacrificing other parts, the whole system fails eventually. Humans learned that the hard way," he continued. "For a long time, we did things your way. Every group trying to save itself, even if it meant hurting others. It nearly destroyed us. We only survived as a species when we started thinking bigger. When we started seeing ourselves as one system instead of competing parts." Kira processed this. "So you helped me because of system thinking?" "No," Jinwoo said with a small smile. "I helped you because you're my friend. The system thinking just explains why it's also the smart choice. Friend." The words settled into Kira's mind. She had not realized that was what they were. She had thought of Jinwoo as a colleague, a pleasant companion. But he was right. Over the past 3 months, he had become her friend. The station shuddered again, less violently this time. Jinwoo checked his readings. "The solar event is weakening. We're through the worst of it." Relief flooded through Kira. "We are going to survive? Maybe. But we've got a new problem." He pointed to one of the screens. "The structural damage from the heat expansion has compromised the bulkhead seals. In this section, when the temperature drops and the metal contracts, this section is going to depressurize." "What does that mean?" "It means all the air is going to rush out into space. We'll have maybe 30 seconds before the emergency bulkheads seal this section off completely." Kira felt fear creeping back. "Can we escape before that happens?" Jinwoo was already moving toward the door, checking the corridor beyond. "Maybe. The emergency bulkhead control is down the hall. If someone manually holds it open, the other person can get through before it seals." The implication hung in the air between them. Someone would have to stay behind. "I will stay," Kira said immediately. "You must go. You have the skills to—" "No," Jinwoo interrupted. He was studying his device, his face unreadable. "It needs to be me." "Why?" "Because you are human, and you think you must sacrifice yourself." "No," Jinwoo said. and his voice had that cold calculation in it again. Because you're carrying 3 months of research data on xenobiology that could change galactic medicine. Your work on protein structures could save millions of lives across dozens of species. He looked at her directly. I'm a maintenance engineer. I'm good at my job, but I'm replaceable. The station has 5 other engineers who know these systems as well as I do. My knowledge can be replicated. Yours can't. The cold logic of it shocked Kira more than noble sacrifice would have. You would die because of mathematics? I would die because it's the logical choice. Because more people live if you survive than if I do. He said it like he was calculating a power distribution. Not his own death. Humans survive as a species by making hard choices. Sometimes that means individuals have to die so the group can live. That is horrible. Yeah, Jinwoo agreed quietly. It is, but it's kept us alive. Kira felt something break inside her. This was wrong. There had to be another way. Her scientific mind started racing, looking for solutions, for options they had not considered. Wait, she said. The bulkhead. Can we program it to close automatically? A timer? Jinwoo frowned, thinking. The controls are mechanical, not electronic. Someone has to physically hold the release lever. But I have manipulator arms designed for delicate work, and I have my equipment. She was thinking fast now. The way she did when solving a difficult research problem. If we can rig a mechanical delay using my tools, we could set it to release after we both pass through. Jinwoo's eyes lit up. That could work. But we'd need something with the right tension, and a way to trigger it on a delay. My sample collection springs. They are designed to maintain exact pressure for specific durations. They looked at each other, and Kira saw hope in Jinwoo's face. Real hope, not just stubborn determination. Let's try it, he said. They worked together. Jinwoo's engineering knowledge, combined with Kira's delicate manipulator arms and precise scientific equipment. They rigged a system using her sample springs, some wire from the power conduits, and a timer salvaged from her thermal regulator. It was crude. It might not work, but it was a chance. Jinwoo tested the mechanism 3 times, adjusting the tension, calculating the delay. We'll have about 10 seconds to get through after the depressurization starts. That's cutting it close. But possible. Possible, he confirmed. They waited. The temperature was dropping now as the solar event passed. The metal around them groaned as it contracted. Kira could hear the stress building in the structure. Get ready, Jinwoo said. He positioned their makeshift device on the bulkhead control lever. When I say go, we run. Don't look back. Don't stop. Just run. Kira nodded, her 6 legs tensed and ready. The groaning grew louder. A small crack appeared in the wall seal. Air began to whistle through it. Now! Jinwoo shouted. He triggered their device, and they ran. The corridor stretched ahead of them. Kira pushed her legs as fast as they would go. Behind them, she heard the roar of air escaping, the shriek of tearing metal. The bulkhead was ahead. They were going to make it. They were. The mechanism released early. The bulkhead started closing. Faster! Kira's legs burned. She had never run this fast. Jinwoo was ahead of her, his longer legs giving him speed. He dove through the narrowing gap. Kira was right behind him, but the bulkhead was closing too fast. She was not going to make it. Then Jinwoo's hand shot through the gap, grabbed her forward manipulator arm, and pulled. She tumbled through, just as the bulkhead slammed shut with a boom that echoed through the corridor. They lay on the floor, gasping. Behind them, they could hear the section depressurizing, all the air rushing out into space. We made it, Kira whispered. Jinwoo started laughing. It was slightly hysterical, the laughter of someone who had just escaped death by half a second. We made it. Kira found herself laughing too, her clicks mixing with his human sounds. They had survived. Against all odds, using nothing but determination and improvised engineering, they had survived. The rescue ships arrived 6 hours later. By then, the station's main power had been restored, and the solar event had passed completely. Kira and Jin Woo had made their way to a safe section where other survivors had gathered. Out of the 300 personnel on Harmony Point, 247 had survived. The evacuation pods had saved most of them, though several pods had failed to launch properly. Kira learned that the section they had been in was one of the most heavily damaged. By all calculations, no one trapped there should have survived. The fact that she and Jin Woo were alive was being called a miracle. But Kira knew better. It was not a miracle. It was human stubbornness, combined with Valesian scientific precision. It was two species working together, using their different strengths to survive what should have killed them. The Galactic Council sent investigators to study what happened. They interviewed survivors, examined the damage, tried to understand how such a catastrophic failure could occur. Kira gave her statement, explaining exactly what Jin Woo had done, how his quick thinking and engineering skill had saved their lives. Jin Woo gave his own statement, crediting Kira's scientific equipment and problem-solving ability for their survival. They both downplayed their own contributions and emphasized the other's importance. It was, Kira realized, very typical of both species. Valesians valued collaboration. Humans valued humility. A week after the incident, Kira sat in her rebuilt laboratory. Most of her research had been lost in the depressurization, but she had backed up her most important data on remote servers. She was not starting over from nothing. She was studying human biology data when Jin Woo knocked on her door. "Hey," he said. "Got time for coffee?" "Well, tea for you." "Always," Kira said. They sat in her lab like they had before the disaster. But everything felt different now. Kira looked at Jin Woo and saw him clearly for the first time. Not just a friendly engineer. Not just a colleague who helped her reach high shelves. She saw him as what he really was. A product of a death world. A survivor species. Someone who had been shaped by millions of years of extinction events and disasters. "I have been researching human history," Kira said. "Since the incident." "Yeah?" "Everything you told me was accurate. Your species has survived ice ages, diseases, famines, wars that should have ended you. You have been knocked down to a few thousand individuals multiple times and always came back." She pulled up data on her screen. "But what disturbs me is not what you survived. It is how you talk about it. Humans treat apocalypses like problems to be solved, like inconveniences." Jin Woo sipped his coffee. "I guess we do. We have a lot of sayings about it. This too shall pass. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." We're kind of obsessed with the idea that bad things are just temporary obstacles. But they are not always temporary, Kira said. Sometimes bad things are permanent. Sometimes they break people beyond repair. True, Jin Woo agreed. But I think humans learned a long time ago that if we think like that, we're already dead. So we choose to believe we can survive, even when the math says we can't. Even when logic says we should give up, we choose to keep trying. Kira was quiet for a moment. "I am writing a report for the Galactic Council about humans, about what I learned during the solar event." "What are you going to say?" "The truth. That the galaxy has welcomed humans without truly understanding what you are." She met his eyes. "You are not dangerous because you are aggressive. Most species can be aggressive when threatened. You are dangerous because you survive what kills others, because you adapt to what breaks others, because you treat existential threats as solvable problems." Jinwoo looked uncomfortable. "That makes us sound scary." "You are scary," Kira said honestly. "When I asked you why you were not afraid, when you said, 'This is just Tuesday,' I finally understood. You have normalized apocalypse. Your species has experienced so many extinction events that you have developed psychological immunity to the fear of death. You can function calmly during disasters that would paralyze any other species. She pulled up more data. Look at this. Human stress response is unique in the galaxy. Most species have two modes: normal function and panic. Humans have a third mode. You call it staying calm under pressure. It is actually a dissociative state where you suppress fear responses to focus on problem solving. It is a trauma response that has become genetic. That's, Jinwoo trailed off. That's kind of dark. It is the truth. Your kindness, your cooperation, your friendliness. These are choices you make despite your trauma. Not because you lack trauma. That makes them more meaningful, but also more fragile. Kira brought up an image of Earth. Your planet tried to kill you for millions of years. Your own species tried to kill itself for thousands of years. And yet you chose peace. You chose cooperation. You chose to reach out to the galaxy with open hands instead of weapons. The galaxy sees you as friendly and harmless, she continued. But I have seen what you are really capable of. I watched you calculate whether to sacrifice yourself with the same emotion I use to calibrate instruments. I watched you work calmly while facing certain death. I watched you refuse to give up, even when giving up was the logical choice. Jinwoo was very quiet now. Are you saying the galaxy should be afraid of us? No, Kira said firmly. I am saying the galaxy should be grateful. Because humans are powerful. And you chose to be kind. You are survivors. And you chose to cooperate. You are persistence predators. And you chose to make friends instead of prey. She looked at him directly. The galaxy's greatest fortune is not that humans are friendly. It is that humans chose to be friendly when you could have chosen anything else. Jinwoo did not speak for a long moment. When he did, his voice was soft. We're not special, Kira. We're just doing our best. Every species is doing their best. Perhaps, Kira said. But your best is different from other species. Your best involves looking at impossible situations and saying, not yet. Your best involves making hard choices that would break others. Your best involves functioning when others freeze. She saved her report. I am going to recommend that the Galactic Council establish an emergency response division, staffed primarily by humans, not because you are better than other species, but because you are uniquely suited for crisis situations. Your trauma-forged psychology makes you ideal for disaster response. You want humans to be the galaxy's emergency workers? I want humans to do what you do best. Solve problems that others think are impossible. Stay calm when others panic. Keep trying when others give up. Jinwoo smiled, but there was sadness in it. You make us sound like we're built for suffering. You are, Kira said gently. But you are also built for surviving suffering. And that is a gift, even if it came from pain. They sat in silence for a while, drinking their beverages. Kira thought about everything that had happened. The terror, the heat, the certain death that they had somehow avoided. She thought about Jinwoo's calm voice in the face of disaster. His steady hands. His refusal to give up. Jinwoo, she said finally. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you ever get truly scared? Is there anything that frightens you the way normal things frighten other species? Jinwoo looked at his coffee cup, turning it in his hands. When he spoke, his voice was quiet and honest. Kira was surprised. But you always seem so calm. Nomand. Being calm and being scared are not opposites, Jinwoo said. I'm scared of failure. I'm scared of letting people down. I'm scared that one day I'll run out of solutions and someone will die because I wasn't smart enough or fast enough. He looked at her. I'm scared of losing people I care about. Like you, but you still function despite this fear. Yeah. Because that's what humans do. We're scared. And we act anyway. We feel the fear. And we walk toward it, instead of away from it. Not because we're brave, but because we've learned that running away usually just makes things worse. He smiled that sad human smile again. We're just really good at walking toward the things that scare us. It's maybe our most dangerous trait. We see something that should make us flee, and we say, "Let me try something." Kira understood now. Completely. His reply had made her blood run cold, because it revealed a truth about humans that the galaxy had not yet grasped. They were not fearless heroes. They were not superior beings. They were survivors who had been forged in such terrible circumstances that they had learned to function during apocalypse. They were kind despite their trauma. They were gentle despite their capacity for violence. They were cooperative despite being persistent predators. And that made them the most terrifying and wonderful thing in the galaxy. "I am glad humans chose friendship," Kira said quietly. "I am glad you reached out to the galaxy instead of conquering it." "Me too," Jinwoo said. "Because conquest is easy. Any species can destroy. But building something together? Making friends across species lines? Creating a galaxy where everyone cooperates?" He shook his head. "That's hard. That takes real courage. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks on." And to the part, Kira clicked her agreement. Perhaps that is the real human strength. Not that you survive, but what you choose to do with that survival. They finished their drinks and went back to work. Kira continued her research, now with a deeper understanding of the human species. Jinwoo went back to maintaining the station's systems, keeping everything running smoothly. But Kira never forgot what she had learned. She never forgot the calm in Jinwoo's voice when he said, "This is just Tuesday." She never forgot the cold calculation when he was ready to sacrifice himself. She never forgot the stubborn refusal to give up, even when death was certain. She had asked why he was not scared, and his answer had revealed the truth. Humans were not unafraid. They were just really, really good at being afraid, and doing it anyway. And that made all the difference.